Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for our third digital newsletter. Some exciting news that's come out recently for a lot of our issuers, so it's going to be good to get some updates. With me, I have Tina Byers, Vanessa Bogart, and Victoria Rutherford, who's going to be just on audio today, technical difficulties. So hi, ladies.
Hello.
So first, Tina, let's get an update on your fundraiser. And what week are we on now?
This is week 8. We're just over $60,000 so far. So far so good. 2 weeks left to go.
Nice. What do you got planned for the last 2 weeks?
On the 29th, we're doing a bit of a cross-Canada relay. So we've got representatives from most of the provinces in Canada doing kind of a run, walk, or bike to raise money and just create awareness for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. So should be fun.
That's great. That's great. Well, we've done a number of fundraisers, and so anyone that still hasn't made a donation for Tina, I'm sure we can put the link in with this video. We got to get her there. So what did you say your number was? 70 grand?
My original goal was 50, so we've already passed that, and then yeah, we'll hope to get to 70.
That's great. We've had a couple really successful events recently. Last week we had an oil and gas mini-series and Central American conference. That was pretty good. Vic, do you want to talk about the oil and gas session?
I think Vic may have been bumped off with technical difficulties, but yeah, that was a good presentation. We had Rafi from Canoe Financial do the keynote, and we were talking to him earlier, and he still seems to think there's a lot of room to go in the oil and gas space. So I added some of the names that he suggested as well, and then we had Kelton and Whitecap present. So still a lot of upside in the space, I guess, and a space that we haven't been spending too much time on at Adelaide. So it was interesting to kind of get a little bit caught up on oil and gas.
Yeah, it's a sector that you and Tina know a lot better than me. I was selling mining deals when you guys were working on energy. But yeah, we also had that Central American conference, which is really interesting. We had 5 companies present with projects in Nicaragua, Colombia, and Dominican. So yeah, I got to learn a few new companies that I didn't know so well before. So we've got an update today with a couple of them. So I guess we should get started on the updates. I think first up we have Bald Eagle Gold.
So just a little bit of background, Darren Collins, CFO of Bald Eagle Gold Corp. We are a junior exploration company in the wonderful state of Nevada, in northern Nevada near the Newmont Barrick joint venture. So we've been busy drilling and exploring our property, which we are in partnership with a U.S. family, multi-billion-dollar U.S. family. So yeah, pretty pleased. This morning came out with some results that are looking very promising in the context of the geologic model that we have. And you know, really, we were initially interested in this property because it hadn't been explored at depth, and you know, we saw indications that there was a very high potential for an epithermal style deposit on the property. And you know, we continue to advance that, and you know, no more so than the results that we put out this morning. So some positive results. You know, one hole in particular, our HS 2020-01, 2 sections. So you know, a shallow horizon and a deeper horizon. The shallow horizon turned over 22 meters, starting at about 15 meters depth from surface, 1 gram per ton. And then the deeper section, which is, you know, really consistent with, you know, why we liked the property in the first place, hit a pretty considerable intercept of about 210 meters at 0.55 grams, which in Nevada is, you know, certainly many of the people on the call, and, you know, many of your investors know is, you know, quite attractive, and many assets in that jurisdiction that are, you know, mining deposits at a grade consistent to what we've put out. So we're very exciting. We have a few more holes coming back here in the near term. You know, one of which in particular is drilled into to the same structure on a different angle, and is actually the deepest of the holes that we drilled. So some great results out today, and we're we're all pretty excited about what we're seeing and what the future holds for this asset.
And I think you also made an acquisition over the past month. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
We did. So really, cornerstone of our business model is, focused on, the leading mining jurisdictions within the world, as outlined. The Fraser Institute put out a great report, ranking jurisdictions on the basis of geologic prospectivity. Obviously, you have to have prospective environment for actually discovering and developing resources within the jurisdiction, but also favor of the ease of operating within these jurisdictions. So Nevada was actually one on that report, and Idaho was number 9. So we found an asset in Idaho. We signed a binding LOI on it. It is a silver asset, so staying within the precious metals theme, obviously, but a little diversification outside of gold. Why we like the property is that there was a lot of historic work done on it, some very high-grade intercepts, shallow, good jurisdiction, and really utilizing the corporate finance and M&A background of our team, where a lot of us we characterize ourselves as reformed bankers. So really using that skill set to get into a good jurisdiction at a good purchase price on a very interesting asset. So we're in the midst of completing due diligence on that. We are getting the definitive agreement and all these things done, but an asset that we quite like, and frankly we've picked up for a pretty attractive consideration.
Great. Well, thanks for the update. Congrats on the results. Looking forward to the next round.
Yep, we'll have more results here in the next few weeks or so. We anticipate the cores in the lab. So as soon as the lab can process it, they've been a little backed up, as in Nevada, but we're pushing them, and we'll look to have those results out as soon as possible. So stay tuned.
Sounds good. Thanks, Darren. The next update that we have is with Pascal Hamlin from Bonterra. Bonjour, Pascal.
Bonjour, Deborah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Lovely. I'm at the project site, one of the project. I'm at Barrie today. So I'm here to check how the drill campaign is coming along. And, we just completed our winter drill campaign at the end of April. We reached our goal. We exceeded the 63,000 meter drill target on the 3 projects plus regional. So things are going good. We're switching over to the summer drill campaign. So we're going to continue with the same pace, about 10,000 meter a month between the three deposit. And things are coming along pretty good. Resource update, we're on target for the end of June. So that too is coming along pretty good. Our geologists are very busy right now finalizing the block model, the geology model on leapfrogs. They're all completed. They've been given to the independent geologists, SLR and SGS. Right now they're doing the block modeling, and things are on target. So yeah, we're very busy.
So for the resource update, are you guiding the market to any particular size?
I try not to disclose. I'll ask people to be patient. They're gonna like it. I can say that, but I don't want to go anymore. I don't want to say things that could be in trouble.
And I'm assuming we can expect some drill results out soon?
Yes. Right now, my geo are extremely busy, like I said, with the block modeling. So it's the same geologist preparing the press release. So as soon as we hand them over to SLR, we'll be back on drill results and releasing results to the market. Yeah.
Right. Well, sounds like you've had a really productive winter and a lot planned for the summer.
Yeah, and actually the Duke option on between Gladiator deposit and Windfall is coming along pretty good. Just to remind the investors, we signed an option agreement with Bluefield, formerly Bluefield, now Osisko Mining, on the Duke property. And we optioned it in 2018 in exchange, 70% of the property in exchange for exploration work. And we're near the end of the commitment, the work commitment on the option agreement. So things are coming along pretty good too.
Great. Well, love the news flow. Looking forward to that resource update.
All right. Yeah.
Send us some pictures from site.
Actually, we're gonna have the video crew here at the end, early June. So it's gonna be even better. You're gonna have video.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, look forward to that. Maybe one day we'll actually get up to site too.
All right. Be
Okay,
safe.
thanks.
Bye.
You too. Bye, Pascal. And up next we have Ben Pullinger, who's senior geologist at Excellon. He's going to provide an update today. And Ben, I actually don't even know what you're going to talk to us about. Looks like Silver City, or no, is that Idaho?
That is Silver City in the background, but it's just one of the many exciting things to talk about today.
Yeah, give us an update on Excellon. What's going on?
As always, thanks for having us. And yeah, by way of updates, we've had a pretty rich news couple months started coming through through Q2 here, and really looking forward to the summer of exploration, including more drilling coming up hopefully by the end of this month, early next month, starting off in Silver City, which you see in the background there. Beautiful weather out there right now, and really looking at following on from those 4 discoveries that we made there last year, hitting those hard, as well as testing new targets and really looking to expand our mineral footprint there. On the back end of the summer as well, looking towards regional exploration on some of those new licenses that we picked up. This is a land package that continues to get us excited, and really keen to have at the end of this month 1 rig and hopefully a 2nd rig joining that kind of in the middle of the summer here. So that's all coming up over the next couple of weeks in Silver City. In Mexico, if we take a quick trip across the ocean, we've got 5 rigs turning on the Platosa property, 1 around the Platosa mine, where we continue to see interesting stuff that we hope might lead to extensions and new definition of mantos around Platosa. We've got 2 rigs underground that continue to drill and push out that resource and discover and delineate new mineralization. We currently have a couple of rigs up at Healthspace where we continue to track what we know is a giant, really big hydrothermal footprint that's had some really interesting results in the past, and looking to see if we can put that together into something exciting to talk to the market about and update shareholders on. In addition to that, we're ramping up at our Oakley project in Idaho, which we're partnered with Centerra, paying to earn into that project. So that's looking pretty interesting. And then, at the end of the summer, coming towards the end of the summer, we are really excited about being able to get on the ground and drill at Kilgore. A lot of work currently going into reassessing targets, putting the model together, really having a look, going back to relogging core and wrapping our hands around the concepts there, and pretty excited about what we're seeing and the fallout of that, and what that means for us and where we target going into a new drill program over there. So a lot of action. We've been really busy over the last few months, and we're just excited to get the drills turning on all of these projects at the same time. Will be pretty cool.
So how many rigs in total over the 3 countries do you have turned?
So at the peak of the summer, we would have essentially 8, and when Kilgore comes online, 11. If we keep it. But I think some of those will phase in and out, but at various points during the year, we will have activity on all of our projects. So it's a pretty exciting summer.
Definitely, and since we have the pleasure of having the geologist on today, I'm going to ask you, I know you love all your projects, but which program are you most excited about this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's really like a luxury for choice here. Any really good news that comes out of Platosa or the Healthspace area, is incredibly accretive. People know what to expect there. It's very close to the mine, it's close to our infrastructure, so that would have a big swing. Silver City, I think, has capitalized or captured many people's attention. Some really good high-grade results off the first program ever drilled on that project after 800 years of mining. We've done a lot of work in the background as well. Some of that's being kind of put out on LinkedIn and stuff with our partners, seeing the high-grade silver mineralization. I think if we could get more of that and better and start to show continuity there, I think that project really starts to come to the center in terms of quality silver exploration projects in the world, especially outside of Mexico. And Idaho and Oakley and Kilgore. Kilgore is already a well-known kind of well-established project, but tracking the high grade like Aspen, the deeper level mineralization there, if we're able to put that together and really start to show that there's a a much bigger system there, I think that becomes very exciting. And Oakley, small resource, some really interesting targets, anything coming out of that. So I'm not going to pick any favorites yet. It's a lot of news flow, and each one of them could be very exciting in its own right.
That's very diplomatic of you, Ben. Well, thanks for the update. Looking forward to seeing some of those results. What do you think the timing on some of the results will be, just to give the market an idea of catalysts?
So I think news on commencing the program and initial progress from Oakley soon. Hopefully news from Potosa over the next couple of weeks here, and then Silver City as we ramp up. We hope we've addressed some of the turnaround issues that we've had in the past on that project from masses. So we're hoping we can get better news flow, but you don't know until with every drill rig in the world turning through the summer. We can only do our best. So we hope that. So I think anywhere from the next few weeks to a month, all the way through the end of the summer, we should see results, a steady stream of results.
Do you still have results pending from your last program in Silver City?
We have a couple that I think we'll be integrating into the next update on Silver City. So keep an eye out for those. But I think right now it's really on building on those really spectacular results from last year's program, and trying to grow those and get more of that. And if we can start to see more of that on new targets, this gets even more exciting.
Great. Well, I hope you make it to your projects this year. It looks like it could be happening towards the end of the year.
Get vaccinated tomorrow. So Air Canada started to fly to Mexico again. So I think it's starting to turn again. So we'll see. I think the travel will start to open up, and I'm pretty eager to get out to some of these and get reacquainted with them.
Right. Well, thanks for the update, Ben. Appreciate it. And switching gears from mining a little bit, we've got Cameron Groom, CEO of Microbix, who's going to give us a bit of an update, and there's a lot to update on.
That there is.
Had a pretty active month, and congrats on the target upgrade that you got today from Industrial.
Thank you very much. We'd like to think it's well deserved, and I'll definitely speak to it. Just recapping on May 13th, we were very pleased to announce the results for our second quarter of fiscal 21 that ended March 31st, and we announced record sales for a quarter of 4.35 million, record net earnings of a little over 800,000, cash flow from operations positive 1 million, and EBITDA, well, it's not it's a non-IFRS measure now, about 1.3 million. So very pleased with that, and it's worth pointing out that that's before the start of any of our sales of viral transport medium to the province of Ontario, which will kick in the current Q3 ended June 30th, and across Q4 and so forth. So we're looking at moving into even stronger quarters, eclipsing those very strong Q2 results, and very pleased about that. We discussed a little bit more detail on the outlook on the AdCap webinar of May 17th that we did post the quarter, and I would encourage anyone interested in taking a deeper dive to pull up the replay of that on your YouTube channel. Also today, very eventful as well, May 19th, we've closed on our announced bought deal public offering with IA Private Wealth and Bloom Burton, and the concurrent private placement. So the gross proceeds of those two financings total 6.9 million, with after underwriters' fees and legal costs about 6.15 net proceeds to the company. And we'll now be putting those new funds to work for strengthening our capabilities and expanding our production capacity. And we'll be pulling the trigger on a number of related initiatives on that very quickly. And that's going to include new facilities, new equipment, new systems, and an increased pace of product development. Of course, all that doesn't kick in on day one, but we'll be moving on all of that as quickly as we can. And further to your point, Deborah, leading in, I believe it's, all those achievements are quite positive, and we're starting to see the investment community agree. And notably, that was with the analysts at IA Private Wealth, Chelsea Stullick and Paul Stewardson, publishing a note today increasing their target price on their 12-month target price on Microbix to $1.80 per share from their previous target of 90 cents, which is based in their words on executing on goals that we've stated publicly in forums like this, and also are now having the funds to further accelerate that rate of growth.
That's a nice little upgrade. So what's that, a triple?
That's a triple from here. We've been trading around the 60-cent mark. I think there's a few people that were just, buying the offering, flipping the shares and keeping the warrant. But, quite frankly, we'll quickly burn through that. That seems to be burned through in days as opposed to weeks. And I think we're sailing into clear air where it's going to be very much onwards and upwards. And, our connectivity is very good across the whole diagnostics industry. And a key point is that we've seen the PCR and overall testing capacity expand to multiples of what it was pre-COVID. And this is where the beauty of our strategy of being test platform agnostic. Our products are applicable across everybody's testing platforms, and we have a very broad catalog in our quality assessment products, our CAPS line, that covers now we have 75 different products, so far beyond just COVID. And we're also seeing the applicability of viral transport medium for all those different kinds of tests. So anybody that really sees us as a COVID play is very mistaken. We're much broader than that.
Yeah, I think there's been a little bit of confusion in the market about that. So it's good that you've addressed it. In terms of beyond COVID, can you just elaborate a little bit on the VTM opportunities that you're seeing out there?
Absolutely. Well, we pushed obviously our VTM quite urgently to get that out, and that's our production methodologies now are semi-automated, and we push that, brute force that through to help the province more promptly, because you were looking at 6 to 9 months waits on just ordering fully automated filling and capping and labeling lines. So we'll certainly move forward, and we'll have a broader capability with decreasing costs of goods sold as we move forward. But we'll be doing the further validation studies to prove what we know but needs to be documented, which is that our viral transport medium is applicable and usable for any type of molecular testing that you're doing, for any virus, any bacteria, any genetic marker, tumor marker. All of those sort of tests require viral transport medium, and that's what we'll be supplying on a going forward basis to Ontario, and as we get further into dialogue with other provinces and private buyers more broadly as well.
So you see orders increasing over the coming years, not sort of a one-year revenue flip?
No, this is very much an ongoing business. This is not a stick a cork in a leak temporary issue. This is a sustained business providing high quality, secure domestic supply for a product that was needed before COVID, is needed during COVID, and is going to be needed after COVID.
Great. Well, thanks, Cameron. Appreciate the update. I know you've got a meeting to jump to, so thanks for making the time today.
Great pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on, guys.
And I think you know our next guest.
I do, Hilton. I'll hand it over to you.
Well done, Cameron. Congratulations on a great report.
Thank you very much. I'll have to get an update firsthand because I've got to hop for my weekly senior management team meeting at 2:30.
Take care.
Okay, take care, guys.
So I guess speaking of positive quarters, we have Hilton Karen here, who's the CEO of iFabric. The company came out with their Q2 results recently, reporting significant growth in their intelligent fabric division. So thanks, Hilton, for being here. I know you guys have had some positive news flow with some new contracts as well, so excited to hear about it.
Thank you, Tina. Yeah, I think we'll start with a couple of really good highlights. I think that the group as a whole in the last 2 quarters did revenue almost as much as we did the entire of last year. So that's certainly a great milestone for us to reach in 2 quarters. Our last quarter, Q2, our IFTNA division did another over 100% growth and over Q2 2020. So that division continues to go from strength to strength, and we just look forward to continued growth as we progress. The Coconut Grove, the Intimates division, unfortunately, with the lockdown in Canada, has impacted that division. However, we're seeing really encouraging signs from our US customer base. So our US retailers, our orders going into Q3 are pre-COVID level, which is really exciting for us. So we're really seeing a resurgence in that division, and hopefully that's going to be a trend that will continue. Yes, to the new agreements, we recently signed an agreement that we did a release on Tumi, the luggage company. They division of the Tumi. And as one of your prior presenters mentioned, that we are moving back to the world of travel. So that is really exciting. And as we return to travel, we see that license being another new positive contributor to our IFTNA division. We also actually signed another contract. I can't speak of who it is because they've asked us to not release until they go commercial. This is a new segment to the business for us. So as our strategy has always been to find a segment leader in a market, this is a global player, and we're really excited for them to go commercial, and we will make an announcement the minute they give us the green light. And we also have an exciting new technology that we've just presented to EPA for registration, and as soon as that comes through, we'll be making an announcement to that effect as well. So a lot of exciting times for us.
Yeah, and on the note of the company, similar to Microbix being categorized as, I guess, a COVID stock, obviously you have a suite of technologies that go far beyond antivirals and antibacterials. Do you want to touch on maybe the water repellent and some of the other core products that you're working on?
Sure, thank you. We've been doing technology in textiles and surfacing since 2008. So absolutely, we're not a COVID play. A lot of our technologies are based on antibacterial, not antiviral. We're busy developing a really unique carbon-free water repellent, durable water repellent technology. We have a customer that uses over $50 million a year in that technology in their offering. We down to one of 2 companies to get a preponderance of that business in the not too distant future. So yes, we've really developed in a number of areas, and we continue to see the marketplace appreciate infusing our technologies in their offerings.
That's great. Well, looking forward to more news flow. And I know we have a full webinar with you on June 1st at 2 p.m. Yes. So looking forward to getting a thorough update.
Thank you.
And up next, we have Akiva Leisman, CEO of Mako Mining, who I feel like I have a webinar on a weekly basis with right now. Like, I think we've talked more over Zoom live than we have in person or, on the phone. But yeah, thanks for coming back. I don't know what you want to provide an update on. You were at the conference last week, but I'm sure there's still things that have changed since then. So I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, so we're ramping up our mine, right? So the last time that we spoke last week, it was the day after we started to put the high grade through our mill. So for those that aren't aware of the Mako story, we've just opened up what is the world's highest grade open pit mine. What we're processing right now is the material that we've mined from the mine over the course of the last 5 months sporadically, which is averaging about 17.5 gram material. So that is going into the mill, being processed, being recovered. We've sent 2 shipments of gold out. We got paid from the first one last week, and we're going to get paid for this one in a couple days. And then the good stuff starts, right? So we have probably a little over 15,000 ounces of gold in stockpile right now. Will go a long way to replenishing our balance sheet, so we can do what we've always set out to do, which is to use this mine really as a stepping stone to do the other 2 things that we frankly find even more important, which is the ability to open up additional deposits, the most advanced being Las Conchitas, a couple of kilometers to the south of where we are. So the exploration program on that is going to be expanded greatly from what it is right now to bring that into the mining fold by the very end of 2022, increasing our production profile by a factor of 2 from the roughly 500 tons per day that it is right now to 1,000 tons a day. And then to really start cracking the code for what we've always thought this project was, which is an orogenic gold mining camp, a system. We have 188 square kilometers of ground under our belt. There has never been a drill hole placed outside of the primary San Albino mine or Las Conchitas, but we've done pretty extensive prospecting on the rest of the 188 square kilometers of ground that we have, and we can see continuity of our vein structures measured in the many, many kilometers from what we have. So this has always been a story about getting this mine up and running, which we did under exceedingly difficult circumstances. We built this mine in the middle of a once in 100-year global pandemic. We had 2 category 4 hurricanes that hit our property, one right after the other, over a span of a couple of weeks last year, right in the middle of construction. And we were able to deliver this mine, and what will effectively, we are effectively in at least getting at the throughput level that we would consider to be commercial, declaring commercial production really at the start of next quarter.
It's been a phenomenal year for Mako. Appreciate the update. I think we've got another update coming from Caesar as well in about 20 minutes. So he's got some exciting news that to talk about. So yeah. Thanks for joining us today, Akiva. I'll see you again soon, I'm sure.
All right. Take care, Deb. All right, take care. Bye.
Who do we have up next, Tina?
Ken D'Entremont from Medexus is joining us. Hi, Ken. How are you?
Hi, Tina. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Always ready to ruin the intro, right when it's D-Day, I guess. It's been a while since our last update. I think mid-March. Obviously, you guys have been very busy with Trio, so looking forward to getting a bit of an update there.
Yeah, lots happened since March. Obviously, treosulfan is a pretty transformative drug for us. It'll more than double our revenue when it hits peak sales in 3 to 5 years. You know, we're trending, as we've always said, nicely over 100 million net revenue, producing strong EBITDA. And now with Trio in our portfolio, that will absolutely double our revenue. So we've got a clear path to 300 or 400 million net revenue and at strong gross margin. Obviously, that produces really strong EBITDA, since we're largely leveraging the infrastructure that we already have in place. And so the PDUFA date, as you know, is August 11th of this year. So it's coming up really quick. We've had a lot of accomplishments in terms of building out our team in order to have a really rapid uptake of the drug. We've gone through the mid-cycle review, the late-cycle review with the FDA. So we're highly confident that we will get it approved at the PDUFA date, and then we will launch shortly thereafter. So we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks for commercial launch following the PDUFA date. Treosulfan, we think will become a key component of drugs used in stem cell transplantation, which is a really exciting place to be. This is curative for many leukemia patients, so it's a fantastic spot to be. We also now do know that we will have the pediatric indication, which is important for 2 things. One, it gives us access to that group of patients who need the drug. Plus, it also gives us a 6 months extra exclusivity. If you remember, the orphan drug status of treosulfan gives us 7 years of exclusivity in the US following the approval. And then the pediatrics gives us an extra 6 months. So now we're looking at 7.5 years of exclusivity. So we're really pleased with that. The build out of the team specifically for treosulfan is going extremely well. We're attracting very high caliber talent that has experience in transplant and knows the centers where we will be selling the drug. You know, as we've talked about before, there are about 74 centers in the US that do this type of transplantation. And so it's a very, very focused target. And so we've got people who know those centers and who will be able to produce a quick uptake of the drug once we launch. You know, also just on our capital structure, we're working on upgrading to a tier 1 exchange. We've had good news from the TSX, so we expect a graduation shortly, and then we continue to work on the NASDAQ listing as well. We think, you know, having those 2 tier 1 exchanges will help us significantly with our valuation. You know, if you look at our numbers, we're trading at just over 1 time net revenue, so and producing positive EBITDA. So there's very clearly a valuation gap that we intend to close. And to that point, we do expect to have our year-end financials. Remember, we're on a March year-end. They will be prepared probably mid-June, and we'll be putting those numbers out.
And just in terms of the product portfolio, obviously a core value of the company is to focus on products with an unmet medical need, which I think speaks to how quickly some of these products can ramp up. So can you talk about some of the ramp ups of, I know you just launched Gleolan commercially. How are things going with some of these products and your expectation for Trio as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as part of being a rare disease orphan drug company, we're looking for therapeutic areas where we can make a difference, you know, meet some unmet medical need, but also those targets are much easier for us to reach. They're very focused and very concentrated. Gleolan is a perfect example. Gleolan is for glioblastoma tumors, the most common form of cancerous brain tumor. There's only 16 or 17 hospitals in all of Canada that treat these patients. So Gleolan, you know, even through the COVID period, we've been training neurosurgeons on how to use Gleolan during surgery through virtual communication of live cases, which has been really interesting. And so the uptake has been extremely good. Those procedures continue to go on. Obviously, these are life-saving procedures for these patients. So those procedures mostly are happening even through COVID. And so the uptake of Gleolan we've been pleased with. Treosulfan is, you know, another like drug, and both registrations are going well, both US and Canada. And then triamcinolone hexacetonide, which is another drug that we've talked about in the past. We do have that now licensed in the US, and we are moving through the registration process. And we're very optimistic that we will be able to sell it through the drug shortages program of the FDA prior to registration. So that will make a contribution in this calendar year and this fiscal year.
That's great. Well, it's obviously going to be a pretty busy summer for Medexus. And I think when you look at the stock price now, certainly with the number of catalysts and the opportunity with Trio, it seems very undervalued.
I certainly agree.
Well, thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tina. Pleasure.
So next up, we have Cesar Gonzalez, CEO of Sailfish.
So I listened to Akiba's talk, and yeah, a lot of exciting stuff's going on at Mako. But at Sailfish, we announced the resource update for Gavilanes, which is a big deal for us, for all Sailfish shareholders. We've been promising people that this is an asset that when it's reinterpreted, which it just was, will have a higher grade profile than what was thought of historically. There was a historic report from 2013, and we've updated those numbers. And to give people a feel for what went into that is that historically this was modeled to have 4 domains that included a stockwork zone, and the new resource only models the vein and then the footwall and the hanging wall for that vein. So it does not take into account this footwall structure, or sorry, this stockwork that was really diluting the mineralization and diluting the way this deposit was being modeled. So the new grade profile, about 245 grams per ton silver equivalents, 207 grams per ton silver only. It's about 84-85% silver, which a lot of polymetallic deposits get away with using silver equivalents, but they have a lot of lead and zinc and copper and other stuff. And ours is about 85% silver, so pretty good on that front. And it's just exciting because we've had gavilanes sitting inside of Sailfish for a while now, and we were paying the concession taxes, keeping it current, but we really weren't doing much work. And through putting this resource estimate together, we really had a chance to look at the 47 drill holes that were put in, to look at the technical work that's gone in to date, a lot of surface mapping, sampling that we're very eager to follow up on. This is another interesting tidbit from that resource, is that the resource is calculated from only drilling of only 3 veins that have been mapped at surface and drill tested. There are 5 other veins that are all nearby that have been mapped but not tested with a drill hole. And that's going to be a lot of exploration upside when this asset is finally spun out of Sailfish in the rightful hands. We're a royalty company, and I don't know if our shareholders would appreciate us spending, the cash we're going to be receiving from the San Albino royalty, which Akiba mentioned is ramping up quite quickly on exploration. We've been buying back shares. We in the last press release, or actually the one before, where we announced we'd received our first delivery from San Albino, I mentioned that we're exploring paying out a dividend. We want to return cash to shareholders, not use it on exploration. We've been spending money right now on gavilanes, but that's just to prep it to be spun out. We like to use the analogy that if you're going to sell your house, you pay to have a painter come by and pretty things up and paint the exterior of the house, and maybe a little landscaping, because you get that back and more when you sell it. And that's what we're doing right now. And this resource update, working with Resource Geosciences, Matt Gray, and with MDA out of Reno, Derek Unger, it was really just a learning process to go through and reinterpret that historic data. No new holes were put in. This was all a reinterpretation of what had already been done, the work. But the quote I had in the press release was that this updated resource places gavilanes among the highest grade silver projects in all of Mexico. Mexico is the largest producer of silver in the world, so that's saying a lot. And for anybody interested in silver, which we're, even after today, pretty bad sell-off, we're still near 7-year highs, and the long-term chart looks fantastic. So anybody that's interested in silver should be taking a look at Sailfish. It's an embedded option in there that I think is very, very cheap and should be looked at.
Can you give us a timeline on when you're planning on spinning out gavilanes?
Yeah, so we've said we were targeting Q2, and we're in Q2. We're in the middle of Q2. The resource just went out, so that's a huge milestone. But the plan with gavilanes is to combine it with another asset called Commonwealth. And Commonwealth, the 43101 report is still being worked on, and there are other things that need to happen with Commonwealth. It's been inside of a private company, and the financials need to be audited for the last 2 years. Gavilanes is inside of Sailfish. Sailfish is publicly traded. We have PwC as our auditor. We've got current numbers. We need to do a little bit of work on Commonwealth. Just a lot of the blocking and tackling that goes along with spinouts. If anybody here has been involved with one, they know it's not as easy as just pushing the asset out. You've got to do a lot of prep work with the exchange. So we're targeting Q2. More than likely, it's going to be July. So I'm thinking it'll slip by a month or so. But in the context of the grand scheme of things, I don't think that's that big a deal.
Congrats on the resource, and thanks for the update. we've had a lot of events this year that have started to unlock value for Sailfish. The monetization of Token Zeo, some M&A in the space that's hopefully going to bring to light some valuation metrics around Spring Valley, which you hold an NSR on. Mako going into production, now Gavilana spin out, the share buyback. There's a lot going on. In terms of upcoming catalysts, what are you looking at other than the spin out? Can you point to a couple other things that investors can be looking for?
Absolutely. So continuation of the return of capital to shareholders through the buyback and the dividend. Once we know what San Albino, or have a good feel, it's mining, you never quite know, but once we have a good feel for the cash flow that we're going to be receiving from that stream, we'll look into administratively paying some of that cash out through a dividend. So that'll be a big milestone for the company. But you're right, Deb. We're not even halfway through the year, and we've sold assets. We're starting to receive cash flow from one of our big assets. We're moving toward the spin out. We had some management additions earlier in the year with Paulo. I became CEO in October. We're moving. For a while, people thought of Sailfish as kind of a sleepy entity that was playing second fiddle to Mako, but it's a real company, and we're going to do as much as we can with it. And it's showing up in the share price. Our stock is holding up quite nicely. It's been a great performer year to date, and our job is to keep it going.
Great. Well, congratulations, Cesar. Look forward to some more news flow. And yeah, you've done a good job. It's been a monumental year for sure.
Thanks to you guys too, Deb. Adelaide's played a big part in that.
Well, thanks. We do what we can. Next up, we have Peter Londa, who's CEO of Tantalus. Hi, Pete. How are you doing?
Good, Deborah. How are you?
Great quarter that you put out this week. I'm assuming you're going to give us a little bit of an update on it.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. We're pleased with it, both on delivering the quarterly results, which continue to reflect favorable trends for Tantalus, and released those quarterly results right on the heels of formally graduating from the venture exchange to the big board and the TSX, where we still trade under the ticker symbol of GRID. So it's been a pretty active week and a half for us. As it relates to the Q1 financials, I think it's a continuing trend from what we shared towards the end of 2020 with our Q4 results and what we witnessed in the second half of the year. The utility industry, fortunately, is recovering from COVID-19 and continuing to get back to their normal course of business, which is to make investments in their distribution grid in preparing for a number of changes that are forthcoming. So we witnessed that in Q1 with revenue up over 10% year over year. I think it was just around 11%. Our gross margins continue to remain very strong, and relative to our peers are 50% higher than what the larger peers that we are that we compete with. So very favorable trend for us. We continue to maintain positive EBITDA despite absorbing, as you know, a significant number of costs associated with transitioning from the private world to the public markets. So we are absorbing those over time, but glad to see that we had another consecutive quarter of positive EBITDA. And then the balance sheet metrics have certainly all improved as we've been able to access capital in conjunction with the RTO back in January. Beyond the financial results, the trends are really very favorable for us. And a few to highlight: the vast majority of the utilities we support, of which we now are at 190 utilities, so up from our last report through this webinar and previous filings. But the vast majority of those utilities are based in the United States, and I like to say sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. The Biden administration's commitment to reinvigorating the United States efforts to help the environment are shining light, with his mandate to decarbonize the power industry in the next few decades. And while decades may seem like a long time, in utility speak, that's a very short period of time and a very aggressive mandate. And so while a significant focus of attention is tied to renewable energy, wind, solar, advantages or advancements in storage, what typically doesn't get the same level of hype is all of the investment that has to be made at the distribution grid. And we were really pleased to not only see the Biden administration make the commitment to decarbonize the power industry, but simultaneously allocate $700 billion of the earmarked $2 trillion stimulus package to investments in the distribution grid, which is where we focus. And so a significant portion of those investments tie directly to our technology. And we anticipate a significant portion of that $700 billion going into our market segment, which is the smaller electric and municipal utilities that are supporting smaller communities and rural areas of the United States that are really far behind that of the major metropolitan areas. Incremental to Biden's initiatives, certainly the storms in Texas earlier this year have taken the utility industry by storm, no pun intended. But a state, Texas, early adopter of wind and solar, credit to them. But unfortunately, a case study on what happens when utilities and regulators focus on the renewable side without truly automating the distribution side, meaning how people consume electricity. And so that's what really brought Texas to its knees. We supported 7 utilities that leveraged our technology to control the demand side of their equation, meaning reducing load as supply eroded, wind turbines stopping to spin, solar panels not accessing sun. We were able to help those communities and those utilities avoid really any type of damage to their infrastructure and to homes in their communities. So great case studies for us that are emerging. And then on top of that, the push for the adoption of electric vehicles and the increasing number of automobile manufacturers that are committing to migrate their entire fleet to electric vehicles over the next decade to 15 years. EVs have a direct impact on utilities. It changes load profile at the homes. It changes where load will be consumed at shopping malls and restaurants and Whole Food and Amazon locations as those proliferate. And it changes the constraints on infrastructure and the distribution grid. So all of this, in our opinion, it ties to an emerging new vocabulary called the electrification of everything. It has a dire impact and opportunity for the utility, and we're right in the thick of it and helping build the sustainable utility of the future. So a lot of favorable things have unfolded for us in addition to getting public and then very quickly upgrading to the TSX.
Yeah, no, I agree that theme of electrification of everything is really interesting. We sent an article, which I think we put on your social media feed. If we haven't, that we certainly will over the next day. And anyone that's interested in learning more about this theme, I would encourage you to check it out. It explained a lot of basics to me, and if I can understand it, anyone can understand it, I'm sure. But yeah, there's certainly some large macro trends that are in your favor right now. So I think Tantalus is in a really interesting spot, particularly being massively undervalued versus peers.
Yeah, to that end, we're trading. I'm still trying to get my arms around why, and that's where Deborah will leverage your expertise and your entire team's expertise. But we're currently trading at a 50% discount to our peers, despite the fact that our gross margins are 50% higher than our peers. And one of the big metrics that we track is the revenue contribution from software and services, which is the recurring streams of very high margin revenue that provide us with that much more visibility into our business. Q1, we reported 33% of our revenue from software and services, which is more than double than that of our peers. So I think as we build awareness and continue to tell our story, obviously we're smaller than our peers, but we think we create and provide a very compelling investment thesis at the current valuation.
Great. Well, thanks for the update, Pete. Nice to see you.
Likewise, and invest in Just for Men, because apparently my kid said there's too much gray at the bottom of the beard, so I need to clean it up. That's another opportunity for you.
We'll check that out next month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Update on the beard.
We'll see how it works. Nice to see y'all.
Nice to see you too.
Next up, Alex Langer. We have CEO of Sierra Madre Gold and Silver, just over 1 month old in the TSX venture. The company has not wasted any time putting the drill. Thanks for joining us, Alex.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Good to see everyone. Yeah, it's been a month to the date, actually, that we started trading. So far, so good. Just to remind everybody, we raised over 15 million in a sub-receipt financing last October. That was at 50 cents. And we're kind of trading 85 to 90 cents right now. So it's been a nice lift and a nice win for everybody so far. But as Vanessa mentioned, we are busy and we've been kind of going at it really aggressively over the last month or so. We announced a Frankfurt listing. We've announced some work programs. We announced results of a work program. We've also announced that we started drilling last week, which is really quite exciting. I really wanted to kind of touch on some of the work we've done. So we got very active in the project, I would say, in November. Just to remind everybody, to peak, it's a company, or at least a project that a company used to have 150 million market cap on. More importantly, they spent about $20 million during today's value in terms of drilling and metallurgical work. If I could share my screen, I can kind of show you what they left us. Give me one moment here. Perfect. So this is the vein work that was left for us. It's about 3.5 kilometers. And with this, they came up with a resource calculation, historic resource calculation of just over 10 million ounces. And that was along kind of these three veins here. If you wanted to drop off the cutoff, it actually went to about 18.3 million, including Onça Boca South. So what we've done is we've kind of remapped the area. And in a short amount of time, we've gone from 3.5 kilometers of strike to this kind of going from a Miro to a Pollock, 10.5 kilometers. So we've really kind of increased the potential that we have at Tepic, which is quite exciting for us. With that, we've also announced a further trenching campaign. So we're going to trench just under 3,000 meters along a lot of this to build up drill targets. We are fully permitted for 67 drill holes. As I mentioned, we started to drill already. We are looking to actually expand on that drill program. The permit will probably take it from 67 up to 200 holes, really quite significant. And it's really to do with some of the results and everything we're getting here within the central area, as well as the rest of the project. And I'll show you kind of a larger, broader picture of the total project. So the total resource is just in the central area here. So we found some new structures. Less than 50% of the project has been mapped. One in particular that's really quite interesting for us is this Taunas structure, just kind of on the other side of the mountain. If I zoom in on Taunas, it gives you an idea of what we're looking at. It's already at 1.5 kilometers in length. We sampled it. We've announced these samples. They're over 600 grams per ton silver, which is great. So we really do want to get active in here. We'll be trenching it right away and hopefully drilling by early fall. One other structure area that's quite interesting for us is this north area. I'll zoom in on that a little bit. This is actually dense jungle, kind of this area within this basalt cover. So no one's really explored it. We were able to see some outcroppings kind of here, here, and here. And again, we've sampled kind of above 600 grams silver, which is, quite significant for us. So we have two areas that we're going to be, sampling and trenching right away within this. So we've kind of gone again from 3.5 kilometers to over 10.5 kilometers. So we're excited. We're busy.
Great, thanks for that, Alex. And so what I remember from Greg is map, sample, trench, drill, repeat.
You got it, yeah. So that's in essence what the process is. So we have a lot of information, so we're able to drill now, but you're absolutely correct. There's never been any systematic, work program beyond a bit of mapping done on this project. They mapped, they did a little bit of sampling and went straight to drilling. So we're doing full-scale mapping. We've done a lot of topography work, which hadn't been done before, which opened up a lot more visuals for us. Then we did sampling, and then moving into trenching, and then again drilling, and hopefully increasing that drill program from 67 holes up to 200. And with that, if all goes well and the assay labs are on time, our goal is to come out with an NI 43-101 compliant resource towards the end of the year. And if it pushes into Q1 of 2022, that's okay as well. We are quite excited.
Excellent. And also, Sierra is not just a one project company. I understand that you're looking for other acquisitions. So will we be seeing those soon, or?
Absolutely, yeah. So just to remind everybody, the plan here is to try to build kind of a junior, I guess, mid-tier silver gold company. We're trying to consolidate the area in and around Nayarit, Mexico. This is our first project, and as Vanessa alluded to, we are looking to acquire more projects. We have a strong treasury of $15 million. I would expect our next acquisition to happen within this quarter. We're working towards that. And it'll fall in line with that vision of consolidating this area. If all goes well, we would love to have production from a couple of these points with a centralized kind of hub and spoke mining scenario. And so far, so good. So we're excited. And hopefully there'll be some news on the first acquisition relatively soon.
Thank you, Alex.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Congrats. Nice to see you. Last but not least, we have Joe Hamilton, CEO of Unigold. Joe, we have made the executive decision that we're going to do reverse alphabetical next month. So,
thanks, Deborah. It's thanks for giving the opportunity, but you know what? I don't mind going last. Like to think you saved the best for last.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got some updates for us. I believe you put out a PEA and a resource since we last spoke.
Well, that's right. You know, a few weeks ago we put out a PEA on our on the oxide project for our for the Nieta concession, the Tantalus project in the Dominican Republic. You know, that's a 35% IRR project. It's pretty low capital and it's low hanging fruit, low environmental footprint as well. So we'll move that through the detailed engineering for the rest of this year and through the permitting in the EIA phase. And then last week, late last week, we put out a resource update, which looked at the sulfide portion of the deposit. You know, we managed to increase the resources from about 1.9 million ounces up to about 2.2 million ounces. But the most important part of that resource estimate was the movement of material into the measured and indicated category. And, you know, by so doing that, we set ourselves up for doing some mine planning. We're still waiting on some metallurgical results from the testing we're doing now. And then in conjunction with the resource estimate and the metallurgical testing, we'll be able to do a, you know, start looking at trade-offs between open pit and underground mining for this, for the sulfide deposit. And the idea would be to have that dovetail into the end of our oxide project. So, you know, two pretty good milestones for the company in the last few weeks. And, you know, it sets us up well for the rest of this year.
Joe, can you talk a little bit about valuation? I know we've discussed this time and again in terms of Unigold. I think you're trading at like $9 an ounce in the ground, which is significantly lower than peers. Can you talk a little bit as to why you think that is and how you look at the company?
Well, you know, I think part of it is because we're the only game in town. You know, we're the only exploration company operating in the Dominican Republic. So that, you know, is somewhat unique. I'd like to think we're a unicorn. However, you know, without a lot of news coming out and a lot of attention put on the country, it's sort of hard to get momentum behind any exploration stories. I think that's the first thing. The next thing, you know, for people to understand is there is the potential to find world-class deposits in the Dominican Republic. You know, the Pueblo Viejo is there, which is always ranked in the top 5 deposits on the planet in terms of production or reserves. So, you know, I think those are the two things that are really driving the valuation. But, you know, at this point, our entire market cap is explained by the oxide project. The sulfides and all of the exploration upsides sort of come for free at this market cap that we've got right now. So, you know, I think there's a pretty compelling reason to own Unigold, especially since we're moving towards the permitting and everything goes according to plan. We'd like to think we'll be producing gold towards the end of next year or early the following year, because the run-of-mine heap leach project is quite a short construction period, probably about 8 or 10 months to get that constructed. So, you know, I think now's the time that investors can really start taking a serious look at us as we move through that, you know, engineering phase and into the production phase.
And talking about the permitting, I think you mentioned last week at the Central America conference that the Dominican government is looking to give out a number of permits over the coming years, and there's really only one game in town, so it should play out favorably for you. My understanding is that a permit for the oxides would also cover the sulfide portion.
Well, the mining license itself, which is the you know, the first step, which, you know, the mining license is granted for 25 years, but there's 2 automatic 25-year renewals behind that. So effectively, it's a 75-year mining license. Each of the individual projects, though, and every time you go to disturb anything at surface, requires an independent environmental assessment. So the mining license would be good for any projects or any materials we wanted to mine from the area. The oxide project will require its own environmental assessment, and then the sulfide project, when we want to bring that on, will also require another environmental assessment. For obvious reasons, the heap leach project has no tailings facility or no tailings dams, no waste piles. If we go with an open pit on the sulfides, there will be waste piles. There'll be low-grade stockpiles as well. And then if we go with a flotation concentrator, there'll be a tailings facility. So, they're quite different projects and require quite different environmental permitting.
Right. Well, congrats on the updated resource.
Thank you.
I think you've got some drill results hopefully coming soon.
Well, the drill results, we're still wrestling with laboratories, and getting drills like many people. And the thing that concerns me about it is that now, our labs are in British Columbia, and now the British Columbia exploration season's kicking off again, which means those labs are probably going to get choked again this summer, much like they did last summer. So we're hoping that we can get most of our backlogged assays out in the next few weeks, so we don't run into that, that wave of new work coming into the labs.
Well, look forward to those results. The exploration holes you've had this year have been excellent, so hope to see a few more of those. Thanks.
Me too. Pretty good. Thanks very much, Deb.
Thanks for the update, Joe. I think Vic's going to come back on and give us an update on Healthspace. You got your camera working?
Technical difficulties earlier. So I'll be speaking in lieu of Silas today. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, but they did have a really exciting month. So we definitely, wanted to get on here and give the update. For those of you that aren't familiar with Healthspace, they're a leading provider of data management solutions to government businesses across North America. So it's a SaaS business model, and they essentially, digitize the government office and allow agencies to streamline their workflows and also just to create efficiencies in the way that governments interact with citizens and businesses that they regulate. So two things out this month that we really wanted to touch on. The first was Healthspace just announced, a new solution that they're adding to their platform called GovCall. So GovCall is, a one of its kind or first of its kind teleconferencing platform that essentially is tailored to how governments are going to need to interact with the citizens and businesses that they regulate. It's different from Zoom and Teams, which don't quite meet government needs. And so some of the differences and advantages of GovCall are that, it ties directly into the regulatory data management system that governments need to access. And also, you don't have to download an app or a different application to use it. You can just open up your web browser, and the system's going to work for you. So they're really excited about this. They've seen a lot of interest from clients already. So stay tuned for some announcements coming there. But they do think over time, this could add probably 15 to 30% to their ARR over time. And that's within their environmental health platform alone. And so, yeah, they're really excited about this. Definitely stay tuned for some announcements there. And then the second thing I wanted to touch on is they've announced 4 new contracts this month. And so one of them that I found was really interesting, is a county in Oregon, which is now going to be using, the Healthspace platform to include all of their tobacco and retail licensing inspections. So it's just another example of a new way that agencies are using the Healthspace platform and a new area that Healthspace can continue to grow in over time. So definitely excited about that as well. And yeah, coming up for us is really just going to be more contract announcements and then just trying to, meet that doubling their ARR over the course of the year. So definitely an exciting year for Healthspace.
Yeah, they've done a good job of increasing their revenue since we first started talking to them last summer. So the stock's done really well too.
Yeah, it's busy. This is a big year for them. So this is definitely the year, where they're doubling their ARR, and also, they're hitting an inflection point near the end of the year where they're going to be achieving profitability as well. So it's definitely, the time to be paying attention to this story.
That's huge for a small company.
Yeah, so.
Great. Well, I think that covers off all the company updates. We've got a couple events coming up. Vanessa, do you want to talk a little bit about one of the events that you put together?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Deb. June the 3rd, we're going to feature the next generation of mine finders. So we've got a really exciting lineup of junior mining companies and their young CEOs that are spearheading their these projects, and we're looking to find out what they're doing differently and how they're doing it differently, getting into their brains, what they've learned, maybe some of their mentors, peers, and yeah, it should be an exciting event. And we're also looking to line up a very interesting keynote to be announced.
Nice. Well, I think it's a really interesting theme, this whole new guard of geos and the exploration techniques that they're employing. So looking forward to that. We also have an event the day before that on June 2nd. We're going to do a fireside chat with Banyan, Alexco, and Victoria Gold, just talking about the Mayo district in Yukon. So that should be interesting. I think they're the only 3 companies that are currently drilling in the Yukon, or there might be a few more drilling now, but up until recently at least. And then also we've got a base metals event coming up on the 17th, which we're really excited about. Stefan Ayanu from Corp has agreed to do the keynote to explain to us what we need to be looking for when we're investing or looking to invest in base metals companies. And I'm particularly excited about that. There's so many new companies, new assets this cycle, so it'd be good to get a broad overview of the sector. And I think that's about it. Tina, what have I missed?
I think that's a pretty good summary. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the base metals conference. Obviously, copper's done extremely well. There's a little bit of an EV tie-in with some of the base metals as well. So it'll be interesting to hear some of the different perspectives with a few different commodities with the issuers as well.
For sure. I think we've got a nice geographical spread of commodities and companies. So should be a good event. And yeah, thanks for joining us for the update on all the companies. It's a very efficient way for us to stay updated and hopefully for our investors too. Anyway, everyone have a good afternoon.